Before lasers, tripwires, and spy movies, humans protected themselves the old-fashioned way, by making other people trip, fall, or scream. From cavemen pits to medieval murder holes, from Vietnam jungles to Home Alone, booby traps have been humanity's favorite way to say, "Surprise!" But where did the idea come from? Who was the first genius to dig a hole and think, "Someone's gonna fall in that"? And maybe the biggest mystery of all, why the heck are they called booby traps? Let's step carefully, because today we're walking through the long, painful, and surprisingly creative history of the booby trap. This is Guess What?, where curiosity might just blow up in your face. Booby traps started long before humans had castles or armies, when the goal was dinner, not defense. Prehistoric hunters dug deep pits lined with sharpened sticks to catch mammoths, bears, and the occasional unlucky caveman. In a way, the first traps weren't about cruelty, they were about efficiency. You could take a nap while gravity did your hunting. As civilizations grew, traps evolved from survival tools to protection systems. Ancient Egyptians were among the first to weaponize architecture. Some tombs were designed to crush or suffocate grave robbers with sliding stones or sand-triggered mechanisms. The Greeks and Romans used traps for war. Hidden trenches, scaled barricades, snares, and primitive alarm systems using tripwires and bells. If you think your home security system is clever, the Romans were basically doing it 2,000 years ago, just with more spears. Now, before we go further, why booby? No, it has nothing to do with anatomy. The word actually comes from the Spanish bobo, meaning stupid or foolish. Sailors in the 1500s used it to describe a clumsy seabird, the booby, because it was easy to catch. English soldiers later borrowed the word, and by the 1800s, a booby trap meant a device set up to trick a fool. Literally, a trap for the bobo. So really, every time someone trips a booby trap, the name itself calls them out. It literally means trap for idiots. Which, having fallen for a few myself, fair enough. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, when Europe basically turned warfare into a sadistic puzzle game. Castles weren't just fortresses, they were obstacle courses of doom. Defenders built secret staircases that led nowhere, drop floors and murder holes. Openings in ceilings used to dump boiling oil, hot sand, or rocks onto intruders. Some castles had spiral staircases intentionally built clockwise. That way, right-handed attackers had trouble swinging their swords, while defenders on the higher steps had a clear advantage. It's architecture meets warfare meets evil genius. And then there were false retreats. Armies would pretend to run away only to lure enemies into pre-dug pits lined with spikes. You could call it the original bait and switch, just with more screaming. The idea of trapped treasure became a storytelling staple too. Pirates, kings, and pharaohs all got credit for it. Legends spread about buried gold guarded by hidden mechanisms or cursed objects. Most of it was fantasy, but some tombs in China and Egypt had collapse mechanisms or false chambers designed to trap looters. While an arrow-shooting pirate chest is probably mythical, archaeology confirms that ancient builders sometimes built lethal deterrents into burial and sacred sites. Moral of the story? If treasure looks too easy, it probably comes with a spike or two. The 1800s brought the Industrial Revolution, and with it, traps that finally went boom. During the American Civil War, Confederate and Union forces experimented with what they called land torpedoes, early buried charges intended to blow up wagons or troops. They were crude, dangerous, and controversial. By World War I, booby traps were standard battlefield fare. Combatants rigged grenades to tripwires, hid explosives in dugouts, and left behind so-called booby-trapped helmets or kits to punish enemy scavengers. Some soldiers even wired valuables to detonate, so the act of looting could be lethal. The message? Never trust a free watch on the ground. The Vietnam War elevated booby traps to a grim art form. Both sides utilized it to grave effect. The Viet Cong used the jungle itself as their weapon. Trees, mud, bamboo, every bit of terrain was potential kit for ambushes. The infamous punji stick trap was a concealed pit lined with sharpened bamboo spikes, often smeared with animal feces or other contaminants to increase infection. Tripwire grenades, swinging logs studded with embedded spikes, and explosive traps hidden in supposedly safe places created a landscape where one footstep could be lethal. The goal wasn't always to kill. Sometimes the aim was to catch a prisoner for interrogation, or to use as bargaining chips. More so, a wounded man was as effective, if not more, than a dead one. Wounding an enemy soldier immobilized him, drained medical resources, and terrorized entire units psychologically. And oh boy, was the psychological effect massive. U.S. troops learned to fear every step, every footfall, every rustle of leaves. Even after the physical danger passed, the mental toll lingered. But this wasn't just asymmetric guerrilla craft. The U.S. and Allied forces, including clandestine units, also employed booby-trapping tactics of their own, from anti-personnel Claymore-type devices to booby-trapped caches and command-detonated ambushes. These operations were part offensive, part defensive. Booby traps could protect a position, deny terrain, or punish enemy scavengers. Both sides displayed remarkable ingenuity, a kind of dark creativity born from survival, paired with a horrific willingness to destroy human life. It was war at its most inventive and at its most tragic. Whatever the origin, the result was the same grim psychology. Every step, door, or pile of scrap could hide a threat. U.S. troops developed countermeasures, flares, sensors, sweeping techniques, but the mental effect of booby traps were arguably far greater. The jungle didn't just injure bodies, it wore down nerves, turning every patrol into a test of trust and imagination. Vietnam taught soldiers to fear the ground. The Middle East taught them to fear everything else. Same tricks, only now supercharged by technology. What began as bamboo spikes became radio-triggered firestorms, the deadliest traps modern warfare has ever known. In modern conflicts, we find cruel, improvised devices designed to maim, terrorize, and deny an area to the enemy. Insurgents and guerrilla forces hid explosives beneath roads, rigged vehicles, and, horrifyingly, placed devices under dead bodies, turning a battlefield casualty into a lethal lure. The dark mind of the enemy turned compassion into bait. As we saw in Vietnam, these body traps and improvised explosive devices, IEDs, aren't just weapons, they're terror tools. Their goal is as much psychological as physical, to make every step, every twist of a road feel like a potential death sentence. It's all bad, but to pile on, these devices don't just disappear when the war or conflict ends. As such, modern militaries and peacekeeping forces have spent decades developing detection, clearance, and medical protocols because the humanitarian toll is enormous. Humanitarian organizations document the civilian cost of unexploded ordnance and booby trap casualties long after war's end. International law and conventions try, imperfectly, to constrain weapons that target civilians or use the dead as bait, but enforcement is complicated in asymmetrical conflicts. Booby traps are not reserved for physical devices. In the digital age, hackers have become the new trap makers. A malicious email, a tempting link, or an unexpected USB drive can be a digital tripwire. Click, and you may trigger ransomware, spyware, or credential theft. Unlike a battlefield mine, the damage can ripple worldwide in minutes, locking hospitals out of their systems, stealing identities, or shutting down critical infrastructure. Now that we're on this topic, PSA. Some practical, safe advice everyone should follow. Don't open unverified email attachments or click links from unknown senders. Keep your operating systems and antivirus software updated. Use multi-factor authentication where possible, and report suspicious physical items or digital incidents to authorities, or your organization's security team. For organizations and responders, established agencies and groups such as CERTs, Computer Emergency Response Teams, national cybersecurity agencies, and humanitarian groups publish best practices for incident response, munition clearance, and victim assistance. The takeaway? The basic psychology of the booby trap, bait curiosity and exploit human behavior, is unchanged. The tools have shifted from sharpened sticks to code, but the vulnerability exploited is the same. That's why prevention, preparedness, and respect for the human harm these devices cause matter more than ever.
So far, we've talked about booby traps in the context of global warfare, but they also show up surprisingly often in everyday life. From police tactics to ordinary citizens taking matters into their own hands, booby traps are everywhere. Police use decoy cars to catch car thieves. Cyber investigators use fake profiles to lure online predators. And on the civilian side, package thieves, food snatchers, sign stealers, even that coworker who keeps eating your lunch. Modern people have responded with creativity ranging from harmless confetti revenge to near felonious overkill. Booby traps are funny in theory, especially when the victim arguably deserves it. But what's hilarious in imagination can turn dangerous in reality, because even a prank can spiral into real medical or legal trouble. It's so common now that even Hollywood treats it like entertainment. Centuries of real terror repackaged as popcorn fun. Indiana Jones gave us rolling boulders, collapsing bridges, and poisoned darts. Home Alone turned one suburban kid into a booby trap architect, using paint cans, broken glass, and other household horrors to defend his house. Funny on screen, chaotic in reality. Those burglars would have needed more than a cast after that encounter. Movies and video games transformed booby traps into spectacle and fantasy. The trap stopped being merely a weapon and became a storytelling device, a way to test the cleverness of heroes and the stupidity of villains. What's wild is how universal the idea is. Every culture, every generation has created some version of the booby trap, a pitfall, a tripwire, or a deceitful link in your inbox. It's the perfect combination of creativity, patience, and a little bit of spite. So from prehistoric hunting pits to battlefield IEDs to the phishing emails in your spam folder, booby traps have evolved alongside us. Proof we never completely outgrow the urge to mess with each other. It didn't give us peace or progress, but it did give Home Alone, Indiana Jones, and a deep distrust of suspicious floor tiles and unsolicited links. That's today's episode of Guess What? If you enjoyed walking carefully through history with me, hit subscribe, because next time, who knows what we'll uncover. Until then, stay curious, and watch where you step, both online and off.